Now I'm ready.
Welcome to Reviewing Who, a independent Doctor Who podcast series running here on Who Catalog on YouTube. It's very nice to see you all, even though we're not talking in any form or any way. But this is our first episode here on the little podcast thingy. I'm still trying to get a feel for what I want to do with this podcast as it is, but I think it's just going to be a place where I can, share my thoughts unencumbered by the wrath that is editing on a mobile editing software. It's just a hassle, and it can get quite jittery. So I think it's just good to have this outlet where I can just say things without the that added stress of having to stitch videos together and put various effects and things over it. Just have this as for sort of a freeform sort of video to just get my thoughts out there on specific Doctor Who stories, episodes, and just anything Doctor Who, whatever takes my fancy. So that's what Who Catalog's Reviewing Who is, and I implore you to stick around if you want to, and I'm sure there'll be something for everyone here, and certainly won't just be me talking to myself, I hope. So today's episode / topic of discussion is the two-part Series 9 story, Under the Lake and Before the Flood. This is a 12th Doctor story during the tail end of the Moffat era, and it is quite something. Now, just before I get into some form of analysis, Under the Lake and Before the Flood were two episodes that actually got me back into Doctor Who after I fell off with the Smith era, which kind of pulled me away from Doctor Who during its airtime. And when I got back into Doctor Who through Peter Capaldi's performance, which I just really thought embodied everything that the Doctor was, and I was really encapsulated in, and so I came back because of, I was really, I don't want to say desensitized, it's not the right word. I was very, let's just say, put off by what Doctor Who had become, and that was back then. My thoughts have changed since, but I think Under the Lake and Before the Flood really brought Doctor Who back to the form that I remembered it, being these weird adventures involving all sorts of time travel and, altering the past in a way that the present that you were in was already a product of said alteration of the past, if that makes sense. That is the weirdest way I could have explained it, and it's not even the right terminology, but essentially, it was what brought me back to Doctor Who. That whole wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey thing was a massive feature of this story, and I just remember being so awestruck by it, and so caught up in the time travel and the bootstrap paradox that I couldn't get enough of it, and I'm like, I want Doctor Who to be like this again, and for the most part, I feel like Series 9 was really good for me, and these two episodes, which I think I saw before much of the other parts of Series 9, I may have seen The Witch's Familiar and the other Davros two-parter before that, so the start of it, but Series 9 was a standout of the Capaldi era for me, and a lot of people don't actually like it, and that's their opinion, and good for them, but Series 9 to me is something truly special, and Under the Lake and Before the Flood especially they're very dear to my heart. I really think there's something really unique going on here, and it's like an episode that delves really deep into much of what Doctor Who often tantalizes the audience with, but never exactly answers until maybe a finale episode or a regeneration episode where the Doctor's dark side really comes out. And this was kind of an episode that explored the Doctor's reliance on his tools of trade, the TARDIS and the screwdriver, but it also brought out some debates as to his own humanity in a way, and his treatment of others, and how he values the lives of his companions over his the people around him that he's supposed to be saving, and just like that psyche that he has, and that god complex that the Doctor always carries, and we know. And I think Capaldi did a really good job of balancing the weight of being like this all-knowing and all-powerful Doctor that we know, because we know the Doctor is quite the specimen in that regard, but also juggling this idea of the Doctor being this troubled being that, after so many lifetimes of living, still doesn't know what he wants out of life, and he still doesn't know how to go about things in the best way possible, and he kind of picks and chooses what he cares about and what he doesn't, and it's almost like he's not sure who he is. And I know we've got that with Smith and a lot of the other Doctors, and I love that. The Doctor is unsure of their own identity and their reality and what they should be doing, who they should be valuing more than others. But this really brings out a really hidden dark side in the Doctor that I just cannot understate how much I love. It's kind of like the Sylvester McCoy era again, and I really love that. This two-part story really just highlights how much of a two-faced sort of person the Doctor is, and not that that's a bad thing necessarily, but how much duality is in the character. And, you know, just like how each and every one of us is sort of Janus-faced, two-faced in a way ourselves, and we aren't always exactly who we say or believe we are personally, the Doctor is just humanized in this way, and I think it's a very important thing, because the Doctor, while being a Time Lord with two hearts and an almost seemingly infinite lifespan, they are a very human character at the center of those hearts, I guess. And I think that is a very interesting thing to tap into, and it's something that needs to be tapped into, because that's kind of who the Doctor is in a way. And Under the Lake and Before the Flood do an outstanding job in really getting to the grittiness of this, getting to the pulp and the dust, and I love that. I cannot understate how much I think that is important for the show. And, you know, outside of this humanization of the Doctor, there's also this take on corporate greed and the decadence that exists within the rich mining operations of these uber-rich companies like Vector Petroleum, and Pritchard really embodies this sort of corporate mentality that goes on, and this monopolization of the environment and the consequences that has on the world, really. And the Doctor obviously makes a point of that, as he does, being a very anti-establishment character. But, you know, that's just a very important part of the entire two-part episode. It's like a really not interesting or fresh take on the matter, but something that's seamlessly ingrained within the whole narrative. And when you kind of look at it on that microscopic level, or perhaps that would be more of a macro scale, anyway, you see that Vector Petroleum is really the villain of the whole story in a way, being that they are responsible for the mining operations and what is going on down there, and recovering the ship as it is. So I think that's a really interesting thing for the two-part story to tap into as well. There's also this very palpable exploration of love and the meaning of life through Bennett and O'Donnell's relationship, and that via Cass and Lun, I believe's relationship, and just the whole idea of how short life is, and to take chances and to live life to the fullest, because you don't know when it will end, you don't know when that witching hour will come, when the clock will run out of time. And I think it's a very good thing when Doctor Who makes those grand allegories and says something about the meaning of life, or in a way it's feebleness, and that's something I really think hit home. And Bennett's state of character after that is very realistic for someone who's just lost the love of their life, and I think that's just another good thing I have to say about Under the Lake and Before the Flood. Now, the whole Fisher King thing and the sword, it does get a little bit coquetry at a certain point, and I think the Fisher King could have been handled a little better. I don't think he was a very threatening villain, and you could have just as easily not shown the Fisher King and had it be all ominous and mysterious, and that would have worked a lot more effectively, because I think the whole exploration of being stuck underwater, underground, in this hostile mining facility with these ghost projection things trying to haunt you and effectively kill you, right, is scary stuff enough as it is. And not just scary, it produces a very unique environment that Doctor Who rarely gets, even though there are very unique episodes compared to this one. This is a very standout story, in my opinion. But yeah, I think outside that sort of weird ladder arc with the whole Fisher King at the end, it does come around. I will say it does come around full circle, comes straight back to all the interesting stuff, and the Doctor hiding in the suspended animation chamber is very cool stuff, and him being the package is a whole thing. And I think at the core of it, Under the Lake and Before the Flood is just a very good, albeit slightly generic, time travel-y sort of episode with some great explorations of very important and oftentimes really hard to communicate topics. I don't really have a better expression for that other than hard to chew topics, I guess. And I think that it does a good job of a lot of things, and I don't have the same to say for a bunch of other stories. Even in Series 9, I think this one is a very, again, standout story, and just investigating that dark side of the moon in the Doctor's character, and really getting to the pulp and the real molecules of what make Doctor Who is just something precious. And for that reason, Under the Lake and Before the Flood are exceptional episodes, a great story in my opinion, and I implore you, if you haven't and you've somehow made it to the end of this short little podcast segment thingy, please go and watch it. I bid you to. It is so good, and it will not disappoint you. Anyway, folks, thank you for joining us. This has been the first go at the experimental episode 4 Who Catalogues, reviewing Who, an independent podcast sort of situation, which I hope I'll be continuing in the future. I just watched City of Death today again, and I think I might cover that next episode if I ever do one, because it's a great story, and rewatch it, may as well. And yeah, thank you for joining us, and I will see you next time, whenever that is. Alonzi.